Shalom, when the star of souls by giving no praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kal Kadash, double honors to Apostle Great Most and honors you brothers doing work of the Most High in truth and in sincerity. Yahweh's real name of whom the world English calls God, Jehovah or Yahweh, his real name is Yahweh, the son's true name is Yahweh Shai, and the new paper Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, meaning in, meaning that, and Sham meaning names Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai. I came across this article's AI to impact women more than men. Made me think as well of the video that they posted to her. I did just the other day, right, as well on a similar topic, right? Because what Esau did is he laid a good trap for these women. Like, he told them, hey, you don't need to tend to your man, right? Despite that, the fact that that's one of the things that they were made for, right? To be a helpmeet unto the man, to have her desire unto the man, right? Let's grab that one real quick, right? So Genesis 3:16, right? It says, unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In thy sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee, right? And that's the natural order of things as this precept goes into, right? 1 Corinthians 11:3, right? In fact, let's just grab that as well, right? But I would have you know that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is the Most High, right? Because one of the things as well that Esau pushed, right, was this usurping of authority, right? That rebellion, right? Jeremiah 31:22. How long will thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For Yahweh hath created a new thing in the earth, a woman shall compass a man. And that's what a woman, through legislation, has allowed a woman to do, right? To the end where you had a lot of women that were making a lot of money, right? And then basically using that to lord over the man, right? To be proud over the man, right? What scriptures speak about, for instance, let's grab that as well. Right, Sirach 25:22, right? It says, a woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. So that's what you see, and that's one of the reasons why women generally marry a richer, someone who's of a higher position than she is. For the most part, richer. That is rather for the most part that means richer, right? Has got a more to offer. Okay, now are there instances where a woman is just down for a man? Yeah, of course, right? But that is something that the Most High has set up, right? The Most High basically was like, yo, this is what I'm going to have for the story of this union, okay? But for the most part, right, woman, if she maintain her husband, is full of anger, impudence, and much reproach. So all of this was all part of Eve's destruction of the home, destruction of the family, destruction of relationships, right? To the end where, we have the society that we have today. Right, and Esau knows this, but once again he lied to these women and said, hey, just get these jobs, just do this, just do that, right? And then you'll be able to to do it your own way, okay? But now what Esau's about to do, right, because he's the devil, right? And we've been telling you he's the devil, right? He's about to pull that rug, right, from under these women, right? And actually, when you look back at the COVID thing, right, that was, women were quote unquote disproportionately impacted then, right? This is the article says AI to impact women more than men. It says AI will affect jobs traditionally held by women at a higher rate than those held by men, right? And it makes me think of this thing as well about comfort, those comfortable jobs, right? These office jobs, just go to the office, right? Sit down and doing administrative tasks and stuff like that, which once when you really look at the finances involved at stuff like that, you can't blame a company for wanting to automate certain things, because in their mind they're like, well, a computer can do this, right? And then you're looking at certain of the salaries for certain of these jobs that get paid out, and you can from an economic point of view, let me phrase it like that, from an economic point of view, you can understand why a company may be like, nah, I'm just gonna get a robot, right? And we've all been in the office, man. We've all not all been in office, but we've all seen it, right? The different tasks that men will do versus the different tasks that women will do, right? At the end of the day, like, men are the ones that make this world go around, right? It says And that's the heavenly order. We just read it in 1 Corinthians 11, right? The Lord is, is dealing with the man, right? In fact, the scriptures refer to a woman as the weaker vessel, right? And once again, Esau makes it seem like that's a wicked, an evil thing, right? But it then just means that's your role. So that means the Most High will create beauty in that role, right? Just like there's beauty in motherhood, right? You see them, playing with with children. There's a beauty to that, right? But Esau makes it seem like there's no that lifestyle is wicked. First Peter 3:7 says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Okay, so that's it. All right, dwell with them according to knowledge, because what is that? No, trying to remember what that. Yeah. Isn't it? Slow. Just looking for a preset real quick. No, I don't remember. I believe it's in Job. Slut. Is it in Job? Yeah, that's it. Job 39:17. Because the Most High deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. Right? Once again, the Most High is dealing with the man. Okay, Most High is dealing with the man, and there are certain things that women have, but for the most part, once again, Most High is dealing with the man, right? And that's just the natural order of things. And by basically creating all these different settings, these different environments that aren't natural, because we're living in an unnatural environment, right? But Esau doing this, he's basically made everyone through, right? Men can't fulfill their purpose, i.e. being a leader, being the head of the household, right? And women can't fulfill their purpose, right? Ultimately being taken care of, right? They get taken care of, and they take care of their children. They make sure that their husband as well is taken care of. Okay, but Esau has them in a business suit in an office, pissed like we are. Like the men are just going to the office like, man, I can't stand these people, and she's doing the same thing. Okay, so it says the joint study by the back to the article. The joint study by the UN International Labour Organization, Poland's National Research Institute, found that 9% of work, such as secretarial and administrative tasks, were at risk of automation, right, compared to with just 3.5%, roles carried out by men, right? And then you have this particular individual, right? So it says, she asks, when I post, well, she says, when I post about AI, I noticed something strange, which there's nothing strange about it, right? It says the likes mostly men, the comments mostly men, the DMs also mostly men. Okay, it goes on to say, it says women are 13% less likely to use generative AI, even with equal access and training, right? So then, so if in fact, even just reading that, if that itself, right, if that itself doesn't explain the wage gap, I don't know what is, which that's all statistical, witchcraft, right? That pay gap, it's all statistical witchcraft, right? But it's like, here it is, you got access to it, and it's literally in your pocket, right? It ain't like you got to go uni, ain't like you got to do anything, and it's in your pocket, right? And then just trying to see if there's anything else in here. Oh God, am I even, what would you call it? Am I even gonna listen to this guy? You look at something, you're just like, oh my God. Yeah, effort. So this is I asked the robot. It says COVID did, and now AI is touted to impact women in the workplace more than men. Why? And one of the things is like women are overrepresented in certain jobs, especially admin, support, clerical, customer service, and some service sector roles, which are heavily impacted by automation and AI. right? Often to be first replaced or significantly altered by emerging technology like chatbots, scheduling software, or AI-driven analytics, right? And that's it, right? And then also it's the fact that they're caregivers, right? So then it's a thing where if you are, and this is what you're going to start having, right? These AI tools basically monitoring remote work, right? And women breastfeeding whatever, and then they're trying to work, it just doesn't work. And that's why ultimately the way that the Most I had it set up, right, was the right way. Esau came in with this dodgy way which just doesn't work, right? We just get into the scriptures now. We get the point because it's something we understand anyway, right? In the kingdom, when we go and look past it, you mean I used to, I used to wake up at 6. What do you call it? Get to the office for 9, right? Be in a room full of people I didn't like when I could have just been at home getting pampered, man. Yo, this is the lie that Esau told the world, right? You look at certain, look through history, right? Well, the 50s and stuff. You see the woman, yeah, she, the husband comes home, right? She's got the food ready and stuff like that. She's dressed well, lives in a nice house, 2 cars or 1 car, kids, dogs, right? But now just about struggling to get to get the one thing, right? So hey, Esau did a number on these people, man. It's just funny. It's funny, okay. So Isaiah 32:9, rise up, you women that are at ease, right? So over the however long, right, they've just been given the easy route, right? They've been tricked into believing that everything is as it seems, right? Not understanding that this is all a facade, it's all fake, okay? Right, everything's normally being taken care of for you, right? But it looks like you're doing it yourself, but really you're doing easy jobs. Really, you're once again, you're not doing anything particularly difficult for the most part, right? But Esau has basically taken care of you, right? It says, give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, you careless women, for the vintage shall fail, right? The gathering shall not come, right? So at the same time, you've got all of these AI issues. You're also having these cuts to benefits that have been up until this point taken care of women, as more especially, okay. Those women that kicked out their husband because they was like, the system's got me. And let's be real, for the most women know, if shit hit the fan and they for instance, they had a husband and children, that they could just divorce him and the state would take care of him, take care of her, sorry, right? And then she could just live off of that, right? But those programs are starting to end more and more. It says, tremble, you women that are at ease, be troubled, you careless ones, strip you and make you bare, right? And gird sackcloth upon your loins, right? There they shall lament for the teats, right? For the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine, right? So there's going to come a lamentation for all of these things that these women have to this point been enjoying, right? But what we're observing is the correction, right? We're observing the change back to the natural order of things, right? Despite Esau thinking that he's the one that has control over it, right? Because all that you're going to start seeing is fulfillment of prophecy. For example, Isaiah 4:1, which says, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. And that's another thing Esau has basically pushed, this idea that a man only is able to have one woman, right? And that's one of the reasons you see a lot of the mess that you see around, okay? Because he has made the woman the prize, and it's not so, right? He has basically said that you do everything, you cater everything to the woman, where it's actually supposed to be the other way around. And once again, in the kingdom, right, the women are going to be down with that. It's just right now they've got them feminist demons on them, where they think that they are supposed to be at an equal footing, right? But there's a beauty in the role that you're in, right? But your role ain't above the man, right? The role ain't above the man. You're gonna in the kingdom, you're gonna be good, but in the kingdom you're gonna be good because you're gonna have slaves to be working and looking after you. But guess what? When we, your husband, when we're like, yo, come do what you gotta do. Guess what? You go and say, Khan, other one, right? But once again, all these are all things that E has basically flipped upside down. In fact, we'll just end on that one, right? Because that's what we're looking forward to, man. We're looking forward to the correcting of all of this nonsense, right? It's Isaiah 29:16 says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, for shall the work say of him that made it, he may be not, or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding. Okay, so Esau's time of, just upside down, topsy turvy stuff is coming to an end. Right, it's almost over. All right, and that's what we're looking forward to. All right, so as always, I was edifying. Until next time, say shalom.